listening to the best of Mornings on the Mall.
We've been talking at length about a drug that's used to treat malaria being a positive potential drug for treating coronavirus recently. And in fact, the President of the United States even has been talking about using hydroxychloroquine as a potential treatment for coronavirus. So we wanted to figure out, does it work? And somebody who's here to help us now think about that is Rio Giardinieri. I hope I said that correctly, Rio, who joins us on the phone, who did have coronavirus and did use this treatment. Rio, good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you with us. Sir, you had coronavirus, and how hard did it hit you?
Well, like a lead brick. I was diagnosed with pneumonia and the coronavirus by the time I made it to the hospital, which was about 5 days after it started.
Wow. And how old are you, sir? And do you have any underlying health conditions as well?
52, and I do have a couple.
Okay, so and the kind of underlying health conditions that would exacerbate having coronavirus?
That's right.
Okay. So you go to the hospital, you were obviously hit really hard by this thing, and what did doctors do to try and treat you?
Well, after I spent about 5 days at my house trying to fight a crazy fever that wouldn't stop. I had horrible back pain. Didn't get the sore throat, but I had the cough and the runny nose. At that time, there were no test kits out there, so the hospitals and urgent cares and the primaries all said, "Don't come here." And then we found out that one of the local hospitals here had the test kits. And about that time, I was getting to the point where I couldn't take that fever anymore. So we drove down to take the test in the parking lot. But as I was walking up to the ER, I was feeling really faint and flushed and just covered in sweat. So they took me inside. And that's when we found out that I had the pneumonia and the COVID.
So you had the COVID and pneumonia. So you had a double whammy here. Do you think it got to that point? Did they tell you that it got to that point because it took so long for you to get any kind of care?
No, I never really stated that, but it was certainly the progression of the virus.
Okay, so the progression, the virus went into pneumonia. I'm curious to find out what it's like when you're in the hospital. How long were you hospitalized, and what is that like? What does it feel like when you have coronavirus?
It just feels like you're beat up on a constant basis. The fatigue is unbelievable. I don't typically sleep more than 5 hours a night, and I was sleeping 12 to 15 hours a day, not by desire, just there's just no way to stay awake. It's a constant pain. It's not anything you want to go through.
Now, were you ever put on a ventilator?
I was not. I was put on oxygen.
Okay. Now, you have described your experience that you were nearing death. Is that how you felt about it?
I'll be honest with you. I was in the hospital for 3 or 4 days, and I came up to Friday afternoon. I just really didn't think I was going to see Saturday morning. It got to the point where you're progressing and you're losing the ability to breathe as the way you're used to. Talking became a challenge. It was tough. My mind's eye was, it was time to start saying my goodbyes to people.
And apparently you did that. You spoke to your wife and your children, you said.
I spoke to my wife, my children. I spoke to some close friends. And actually, speaking to my friends is what ultimately saved my life.
Yeah, tell us about that. Something changed that totally changed the entire course of your treatment. What happened when you spoke to your friend?
I tried to say goodbye to a friend of mine, and he just wouldn't have it. And he sent out a bunch of messages, about 200 or 300 of our friends. And one of them replied. It happened to be a friend of mine for 43 years. Replied and said, "Here, you've got to take this medicine. You got to find a way to get the doctor to give it to you." And the nurse happened to be in a room at the time, so I told her that I had a desire to talk about this. The doctor came back in, He knew of it, but said it wasn't something that they could prescribe. But he did get me in touch with an infectious disease doctor at about 5:30 that afternoon. He called, and he says, "Yeah, I know the medicine you're talking about. This is it's not a medicine that's treated that we've ever used to treat this. It's not something that has testing. There's no trials done. But he says it's something we're definitely looking at." And I told the doc, I said, look, I really want to take this. I'm not sure I'm going to be here in the morning.
Now, did your doctors share your own self-diagnosis in that? Were they telling you that they thought that there was nothing else they could do for you at that point?
No. I asked the doctor if there was anything else they could do, and he says, really, we're giving you all the antibiotics. We're doing what we can do with this.
Yeah.
It's not something we're familiar with. Everybody's trying to figure it out on a day-to-day basis.
Wow.
But it's not something they would have originally condoned utilizing the medicine. I mean, they gave me basically all the reasons not to do it. But to me, it was definitely worth the risk.
So they clearly shared your assessment that they had to try something. I mean, obviously,
Correct.
The way that they prescribe
Correct.
something like that to you is they feel like they're at the end of their options. So they prescribe, is it hydroxychloroquine you were prescribed?
Exactly, along with I can't even pronounce the other
azithromycin.
medicine. Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
so the combination of a Z-Pak and hydroxychloroquine is what you were prescribed, you said. And your friend who sent this to you, how did they become aware of it? Is it because of the president's conversation around this?
Actually, he picked it up from the Laura Ingraham show.
I see. Okay.
And he relayed it to me. Thank God.
Good. Yeah.
Now, first of all, how long ago was this? When was this happening? Was this at the beginning of March?
No, the ultimate use of the medicine started last Friday.
Last Friday. And was it just a pill that they gave you? Were you still in the hospital?
Yeah, it was about 6:30 in the evening, and they gave me my first dosage in the hospital pills, and I've taken them every day since.
Now, how quickly did you see results?
That's the amazing part. I'd been fighting this for about 9 days at that point, and basically I went to sleep, and when I woke up at 4:45 in the morning, for whatever reason, I'm staring right at the clock, and it just dawned on me that I could breathe. The fever was gone, and the pain in my back was subsiding. So, it was less than 10 hours.
Whoa.
That's incredible. Less than 10 hours. That is just an amazing story. Now, I don't know if everyone has the same type of experience as you do. I guess it depends on where they are in their illness and their underlying health symptoms, their underlying health problems, if there are any, as for efficacy of this. But I've been looking forward to this all morning because I wanted to find out what it was like to have the virus, what it feels like, and your story especially, because I thought it was just so enlightening. And obviously you are a huge advocate for this now and telling your story across the country. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, our country's in definite need of knowing that there's something out there that will save your life. Now, I can't say this is going to save everybody.
Right.
I'm not saying everybody's going to react the same way, but for me, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that it saved my life.
Wow. What a story. Thank you, Rio. Rio Giardinieri, great to have you with us this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.